The war between Israel and the Hamas militants in West Asia has reached Gaza's biggest hospital, where thousands are trapped, and officials say a lack of fuel has caused deaths of premature babies and critical patients. Hamas's health ministry has claimed all hospitals can barely be administered in North Gaza. The largest hospital, the Al-Shifa hospital, has ceased to function, and fatalities among patients are now rising as a blistering Israeli assault continues in the Gaza Strip. The WHO managed to speak to a health professional at the hospital, and they described a dire and perilous situation, and it was not functioning as a hospital anymore, with constant gunfire and bombing exacerbating an already critical circumstance. A total of 6 premature babies and 9 critical patients have died in Al-Shifa hospital. According to the Deputy Health Minister in the Hamas-run Gaza Strip, they fear the death toll among patients will rise in the coming hours. Gaza's Hamas-run health ministry further added that at least 2,300 people are still inside Al-Shifa hospital. In an update shared by the WHO, a doctor in the region said that the Al-Shifa hospital can no longer accept patients. Ambulances have stopped evacuating the wounded and bringing them to Al-Shifa, according to medical staff, and 40 patients in the ICU face death if no fuel, water or oxygen are provided for them.
The situation now is very bad. We don't have connection. There is no internet. Sometimes we have some that on the call phone. We're on the 4th floor, and also there's a sniper who attacked 4 patients from the inside the hospital. One of them has the gunshot directly in his neck, and he has a quadriplegia, and the other one he has a gunshot in the abdomen. Some of the people which actually go outside the hospital, they want to go to the south, they bomb them also. They bomb the family from the Al-Shifa hospital today in the morning. There is no electricity actually, there is no water, there is no food. So our team is exhausted.
In a video we were unable to independently verify, the Israeli army shared footage of troops leaving jerry cans of fuels outside the Al-Shifa hospital. Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu said the hospital had been offered fuel but had refused it.
We offered actually last night to give them enough fuel to operate the hospital, operate the incubators and so on, because we have obviously no battle with patients or with civilians at all. And I think every civilian death, every dead baby is a tragedy. But that tragedy should be placed squarely at the responsibility of Hamas, that is keeping its military installations inside hospitals, its command posts inside hospitals, inside schools, inside UNRWA, UN facilities and so on.
The Israeli military said it had placed 300 litres of fuel at the hospital's entrance. But Hamas authorities were preventing the hospital staff from collecting the badly needed supply. Although Al-Shifa director has told journalists the Israeli claims were lies. On the contrary, according to the Palestinian Red Crescent Society, they received 76 trucks loaded with aid from the Rafah crossing. The aid organisation said the Israeli occupying authorities have not permitted the entry of fuel so far. And it's not just Al-Shifa hospital that has ceased to function. According to the Palestinian Red Crescent Society, the Al-Quds hospital, the second largest in Gaza, has also ceased operations due to a fuel shortage, as Israeli forces continue to bomb the besieged enclave. According to the UN's humanitarian agency, 20 of Gaza's 36 hospitals are no longer functioning since Israel announced the complete siege of the Strip. As Israel's military pushed deeper into the dense urban neighbourhoods, Palestinians joined a growing exodus of people heading towards the south to escape the fighting. Gaza officials say the Palestinian death toll from the war has surpassed 11,000 people. Meanwhile, negotiations to free the hostages taken by Hamas militants and other terror groups to Gaza are intense and ongoing as Qatar continues to mediate deal-making between Israel and Hamas. This according to multiple US officials. According to the White House, US President Joe Biden spoke on Sunday with Qatar's Emir Sheikh Tamim bin Hamad Al Thani about developments in Gaza and urgent ongoing efforts to secure the release of hostages being held by the Hamas militant group. Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu has also hinted that there could be a potential deal to free hostages. but pushes back against growing international calls for a ceasefire. He says Israel's battle to crush Gaza's Hamas militants will continue. Well, joining me on the broadcast is our correspondent, Jodie Cohen, reporting live and on ground from Rana. And Jodie has been giving us the latest updates from on ground since the day of the Hamas attack on October the 7th. Well, Jodie, many thanks for your time. There are concerns this war could spread beyond the Israel-Gaza border to Israel's northern front now with Lebanon. What can you tell us about that?
Hi, Oliver. Certainly. So security experts are saying that 10,000 rockets in total have been fired from Hamas in Gaza towards Israel. But now that they are fewer in pace as Hamas is embroiled in fighting the Israel Defense Forces on the ground, Hamas has reportedly asked Hezbollah to get more involved there in Lebanon. Remember, we saw the first missiles fired from Lebanon into Israel in this war on the 8th of October. That's the day after Hamas's massacre in Israel and 2.5 weeks before Israel began its ground offensive in Gaza. There have been repeated rockets and infiltration attempts from Lebanon into Israel since then. We saw 15 rockets fired from Lebanon on Sunday evening into Israel, and the IDF says it's striking Hezbollah targets in response. We also saw a drone attack from Syria on a school in southern Israel, and we've seen rockets fired at Israel from the Houthis as well in Yemen. Israeli civilians have been evacuated from the north as well as the south of the country, and US Defense Secretary Austin had a call with his counterpart Yoav Gallant of Israel, and he emphasized the need to contain the conflict to Gaza and avoid a regional escalation. The US has reportedly sent a message to Iran and to Hezbollah saying that the US would be prepared to intervene militarily if they expand the conflict further. And we've also heard that Hezbollah's head has said that Iran has been supporting Hezbollah, Hamas and other groups financially, materially, diplomatically and militarily in this war. So there's certainly a concern that it could spread further.
Well, let's hope that doesn't happen. Let's move on to talking about these hostages and the potential release deal that's being negotiated by the mediator Qatar. How likely is that to happen?
So I'm standing by one of the many art installations around the country and indeed around the world to raise awareness of the plight of the 240 roughly people, including the elderly, differently abled, women, children and even babies who've been held in Gaza for more than a month since Hamas's 7th of October massacre in Israel. Now, there had been talk of a hostage release deal with Israel agreeing to humanitarian pauses to enable more Gazans to evacuate from the north to the south of Gaza where it's safer. Now, we've seen since Sunday that Israel has agreed to between 4 and 7 hour daily pauses in the fighting, but we haven't seen any connection to any hostage release. In the latest, as you said, there's been reports of a possible exchange of women and child hostages for women and under 18s convicted of terror in Israeli prisons. Prime Minister Netanyahu has said that a hostage deal could be possible. He also believes that military pressure is important to getting Hamas to agree to any hostage deal. Now, the Mossad head has reportedly met with the CIA director and Qatari Prime Minister to discuss those negotiations with Hamas. Daniel Hagari, the IDF spokesperson, has said that there are a number of false reports circulating and that a deal would take time. But we know that Brett McGurk, the White House coordinator for the Middle East, is expected to be in Israel on Tuesday, and we're likely to see further discussions and statements then.
Jodie Cohen joining us live from Rana. Many thanks for your insight there.